I knew that I was somebody who was really good at helping other people, but not so good at helping myself. One of the things actually that the big red dot did for me was it was a massive milestone in terms of my speaking journey, because I used to have a fear of public speaking. Nerves are normal, but I'm talking about a full body reaction. There are people outside of Jersey who are watching the TEDx, and I think that that's what TEDx does. It gives you that reach beyond the people that you know.
If there is someone who is listening to you right now, who has either watched your TEDx, or listening to how your idea has evolved, and they want to bring this to life in their own everyday life, everyday conversation, what is one reflection question that you will share with them that will inspire them to start something today?
I think
this conversation is about what happens after an idea has been shared on stage. It's about how these ideas have come to life, how it has evolved, how it's showing up in everyday conversations, and how it is impacting people's choices around the community and even around the world. My name is Opeyolale, and I am the host of TEDx St Helier, and I am doing the series with all of our 2025 speakers, just checking in to see how these ideas have evolved. More so, this is not about reinventing the TEDx conversation in itself. This is not about the stage or what has been shared. It's more what has happened, what is the impact that we can see in the community, how is it showing up, and what is the relationship with that conversation like with our speakers today? What has changed? What has involved? So today I have with me Joe Ferbrache. Hi, Joe.
hi, Opey. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking the stage again. This time we're here, not the stage. So I thank you for the continuity. I think what's important is that we have shared an idea, but we don't want it to stop there. We want to see it, break the room, go places, and people are bringing it to life, actions, choices. Um, so my first question to you today is then, since you shared your idea and your idea was about breaking unhealthy habits and taking a new one and, providing alternative options on how you can do that. And I also know that you've been championing a lot of initiative around our community on how to do this. So can you share with us what has changed since then? How is this going? What is the relationship you now have with this idea of yours?
So many people have been in touch with me about doing charity challenges, and obviously this is a win-win. Raise money for charity, raise awareness for charity, whilst also helping ourselves, because there is that accountability. And I think that so many people struggle to start something new or stop something. And by having this focus, it really, really helps us at the start, because there can be a lot of pressure around us. And so being able to say, I'm doing this for charity, makes such a huge difference. I've had so many people say to me, I've started this charity challenge, I'm raising money for charity, and it's helped me not to have to tell people that I'm doing this because of X, Y, and Z, when actually I've not quite got to the point where I know how I feel about this thing yet. It buys them that space and that time to be able to get to that point without that pressure. And hearing the amount of money that people are raising for charity is just the most incredible feeling. Obviously, I raised over £15,000, which is awesome. But then hearing everybody else's impact in the community is incredible.
And has anyone raised more than 15,000? I'm just curious. Just curious.
Well, the thing is, after doing this, it's not just locally and it's not just the people that I know who are doing these charity challenges. So I know of people who have raised a lot of money, not £15,000, but there are people outside of Jersey who are watching the TEDx. And I think that that's what TEDx does. It gives you that reach beyond the people that you know. And those people are inspired and they then do their own charity challenges. And not everybody gets in touch to tell you the impact that that's made. I have people sometimes tell me, I follow your content. I don't like it. I don't share it. I don't comment on it, but it makes such a huge difference in my life. And I want you to know that. And I think that anybody who does this kind of stuff and shares it, it's so important that they recognize that that impact goes far beyond what they know and the people who are actually getting in touch with them to tell them that it's made a difference.
That's very interesting, and thank you for sharing that, Joe. As you were speaking, what came to mind was for an everyday person who has a 9 to 5 job and who wants to do other things, raise funds for charity, break on healthy habits, adopt new ones. But there's this routine that we all fall into, and we just tend to do the same things over and over again. What would you say is the starting point? How can anyone start with your idea? How can I launch with the idea that you have shared?
It is, as you've just said, getting out of autopilot. It's recognizing the distractions, the things that we're using in order to cope, and everybody's is different. This is the thing. So for me, it was alcohol. So that was what I did. I did a charity challenge to stop drinking alcohol. And for me, it was for a year. But for someone else, it might be scrolling mindlessly. It might be retail therapy. It might be, I mean, the list goes on, right? Or it might be, I want to start something new. It might be, I want to start a yoga practice, or I want to start sea swimming. And for some people, this is just a way in order to get started. And obviously, we could work with a coach. I actually became a coach after doing this challenge. So, this challenge was 7 years ago that I did. But, at the time, I didn't really know what a coach was or how you worked with them. Whereas nowadays, obviously, I would involve a coach in this process to help me and to support me. But back then, I knew that I was somebody who was really good at helping other people but not so good at helping myself. And so that's why the charity element was so important, because I wasn't going to let them down, but I would have let myself down. So if you're someone who knows that you sit in that camp, then this can really, really help you as a starting point. And like I said, then it buys you the time to actually start to reconnect with yourself, start to get to know yourself. And, for me, post challenge, was that when I really started doing the work. Obviously, I created a lot of awareness during that year. And then post challenge, I trained to become a coach. And I did a year-long coaching certification, which then gained me that insight into who I was. And off the back of that, obviously, then helping people, you get to know even more about yourself, helping and supporting other people, because you learn so much from the people that you're working with. The other thing that since then, I've done more embodiment working now. So I would start with connecting with your body. I didn't have those tools and those resources back then, but now I do. And I think that really being able to connect with yourself and to understand what's going on in your body, there's so much wisdom in the body, it's a great starting point. And if somebody doesn't know how to do that, then they can work with somebody in order to help them with that process.
That's very important. And you've already answered the next question that was on my mind, because what I wanted to ask you is your current relationship with that idea. How has it evolved for you personally since you first thought about it and then you did it and then you shared with the world and you've not stopped sharing since then? And you've talked about how it's now moved from the stage to embodiment as a starting point. So if anyone at all were to think about breaking a habit, starting a charity, changing a mindset, and what kind of behaviors should people engage with? What should I stop doing, start doing? What where do I go from here?
When I first started sharing my story, I was talking solely about alcohol because obviously that was my story and that was what had changed in my life. And I think doing the TEDx process and pulling together a talk that would help as many people as possible, a big idea, really helped me to see that actually this was beyond sobriety. And so for me, it really is about just getting started. Work out if you need more support, if it's not something that you can do on your own, Make sure that you get the support that you need for this process. Find a charity that's close to your heart, one that you're not going to let down. So for me, that was Friends of Jersey Oncology, and they'd helped a lot of my friends. I knew that I wasn't going to let them down. As soon as I told them, I knew that. And then start to recognize the new habits that you need to put into place. Create the space and the time in order to be able to do these things. From a sobriety perspective, I can help with that because obviously I went through that process. We're in dry January right now. And so this could be very helpful for a lot of people. I know this might be airing at a different time of year, but also actually, it's never too late. You can start this at any point in the year. And I think that, I would say be prepared, get organized. If you're going to go on a night out, know what you are going to be drinking on that night out. Don't get stuck at the bar and kind of go, oh, I don't know what I'm going to have. Don't look at it from the perspective of giving up. Look at all of the things that you're going to be gaining. Really focus on the benefits. And it's harder at the start because it can bring up a lot of discomfort. That's why the charity challenge, for me, over and over and over again, brought me back to, I'm doing this for charity. Because there were so many times, and obviously I talk about this in the TEDx, where I would have given up if it wasn't for the challenge and for charity. So knowing that you have that, I think when you feel that deep discomfort can really help. But actually the embodiment, once you learn how to shift your state to one that supports you rather than sabotages you, then you're able to actually be with that discomfort. I didn't have that back then. I just had to be in the discomfort and feel that, and just keep coming back to the challenge. Whereas nowadays, I know how to actually shift your chemistry within your body so that you can actually change it in that moment and you can make yourself feel an awful lot better. You can actually create more capacity within yourself. And the things that have been triggering you over the years and making you reach for the thing that's maybe not so good for you, you can actually look at that and you can change that. And that is incredibly empowering. One of the things actually that the big red dot did for me was it was a massive milestone in terms of my speaking journey because I used to have a fear of public speaking. Nerves are normal, but I'm talking about a full body reaction just at the thought of speaking, not even being up on the stage. Like the thought of speaking would make my heart start going, would make my hands go clammy, would make my stomach start going, my throat would start closing down. And I know the moment that this started and began for me. So when I say connecting to your body, I mean connecting to the sensations that are happening in your body. It is a physical reaction that we get when we feel uncomfortable. And like I said, nerves are normal. You're going to probably get the clammy hands in there. But when it stops you from doing things, when it's so overwhelming that you can't do the thing, that's holding someone back. And that's why I just love doing this work so much, because I've been able to overcome that fear for myself, and helping other people do that is something I'm incredibly passionate about. And I think that since doing TEDx, that's been something that I've been working a lot with people on, because they've seen that I was someone who would say no to things. And then they've all of a sudden seen me standing on that big red dot and sharing something that is so personal to me, to a wide audience.
To the world.
To the world.
To the world.
Absolutely. That,
Yes. You know what I enjoy about this conversation, Jo, is you have a way of preempting my question. Because my next question was, how has the journey of TEDx, of you sharing it on stage, how has it impacted you personally? And you've already talked about preparing, coming out of your comfort zone, sharing, breaking the nerves, and putting your personal story out there to help others get over their own challenges. But apart from that, what about general impact? When you walk on the street, is everybody going, hi, Joe? How has it impacted you beyond the preparation? What has happened since post TEDx?
Well, Well, the preparation for TEDx isn't just preparing your body. I mean, actually preparing the talk itself as well takes a long time, because I'd shared this story a lot before, but it was like an hour long. You have 15 minutes or less. Like, that is the absolute cutoff point. There is so much to say. And I think this is the thing. I would have shared more about the embodiment and more about all of that if there had been the space, but you have an idea and you have to make sure that within that time, you have shared that idea. And I can't tell you how many times I wrote that talk and started again and wrote it again and shared it. So that process takes a long time. Post TEDx, obviously there is the relief. That lovely big sigh of, oh my goodness, it's done. But then it's about sharing it. It's about watching it and sharing it. And as you said, there is that, oh, we saw that. I really want to tell you how that made me feel. People locally in Jersey, people further, away in the world, getting in touch through social media. It does make me smile when somebody comes over to me and starts speaking to me about it, and I've got no idea who the person is. And I mean, I'm a very friendly person, so I go speaking to everybody, so I might have just forgotten who the person is, but somebody will just start talking to me, and I'm trying in my mind to connect how I know them, and then I'm like, I don't know them, and how amazing is it that somebody feels that they know me in that way through connecting, because it is that heartfelt, honest share that is coming across in the TEDx. You are sharing from your heart, and people connect with that.
One thing that I really like that you have shared today is embodiment. And it sounds to me like the journey of an idea. So you start with an idea in your mind, you share. Your relationship with the idea begins to evolve and change. The more you know, the more you meet people, the more you hear conversations, the more you see how the idea that you've shared is impacting choices around you. Uh, if I were to speak about embodiment, which is one part you did not talk about on the red dot a lot, how would you bring that to life to anyone listening right now? What do you want to say about embodiment?
This is the thing. I think we're always, hopefully, learning and developing. Since standing on the red dot, the amount of training that I've done since that moment, it makes you learn things, it makes you unlearn things, it makes you see things differently. From an embodiment perspective, it's about feeling rather than numbing out. So I think that the main kind of focus in the TEDx talk was very much, is this serving me? Now it's about asking that question, but then being able to be with the feelings that are coming up, and to either do that for yourself if it's not something that is going to overwhelm you to the point where it's not a good thing for you to do on your own, or work with somebody else who is trauma informed if there's some trauma that is there, and be able to work through what is happening in the body. So that could be as simple as being able to do a body scan. I have ADHD. So for years, I wouldn't have been able to connect with my body. I wouldn't have been able to sit still. Doing this work has helped me to be able to be in my body so much more. I'm able to connect with how I'm feeling, what is going on. What do I need to do in order to shift a feeling? If I know that that feeling isn't actually supporting me and isn't serving me in that moment, I can change the shape, I can change the color, I can change the texture, I can change the intensity, I can create more capacity inside of myself. So I'm now working a lot more with tools that can really help people to be able to be with what is going on so much more. They can then make those clearer choices that serve them so much easier. They don't have to rely on a charity challenge in order to do it. That is a way of being able to do it. And it actually can buy you the time, like I said, in order to maybe do this work without the pressure. But being able to actually choose what serves you is incredibly empowering. And to be able to do that without needing an excuse really is the ultimate freedom and goal. But I think that if somebody is unable to do that at the start, that is a really, really great way to buy you that space and that time to then do the inner work. Because otherwise, we're just sticking plasters on things. It really is about being able to connect with your real self, your authentic self. And the people that I've worked with, they've said, I cannot believe that I feel this way. If you told me that I could feel this way, I just would not have believed it, because it is about just keep coming back to the body over and over and over again until that discomfort it's just not there in the same way, or you can be with it and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. It is incredible and it has changed my life so much. And as I said, I'm learning new tools and techniques all of the time to help people with this because there are so many different ways into the body. And yeah, it goes beyond words. It's about really just working with the energy and the emotion. So people don't have to go back to the story in order to heal. It's about feeling in order to be able to heal, feel to heal.
What has stayed with me with what you're saying is to change is not about thinking about the past. It's not feeling, what do I want to change? And then that becomes a drive for you to do something or change something. I know that you like to help people and you've talked a lot about helping people. And my next question for you is that if there is someone who is listening to you right now, who has either listened, watched your TEDx, or listening to how your idea has evolved, and they want to bring this to life in their own everyday life, everyday conversation, what is one reflection question that you will share with them that will inspire them to start something today?
I think the question, is this serving me, is still incredibly important. I think being able to have shame-free, open conversations about the stuff that we're using to cope is so important. And I think that the more that we have these conversations, the more that people realize, actually, that's something that's not supporting me, that's something that's sabotaging me. And that could be alcohol. It could be the fact that actually you're constantly edging on the edge of burnout. And actually, that's something that's been kind of glamorized in the past, the overworking. And now people are starting to recognize, actually, that doesn't make me feel good. It's recognizing, where am I right now? Where do I want to get to? And how can I get to that place? Is this something that I can do on my own? And there is so much stuff that we can do on our own, or do I need some support in order to make that change happen? And it is an amazing thing to work with somebody in partnership on that journey of real self-discovery.
Thank you for sharing, Joe. And I hope someone wrote that question down. What do I need to change? What support do I need? Powerful reflections, Joe, and thank you for your time today. But just before we close, I am reminded that ideas, again, are not powerful because they're shared. Ideas are powerful when they come to life, when we act upon it. My personal reflection of what you shared today and the ideas you shared on the dot is more, I find myself on autopilot a lot, but sometimes I just hear Joe Ferbrache's voice in my saying, have you ever found yourself on autopilot? And that just keeps me in shape. So sometimes it's not even the whole conversation. It's just one line of what you hear and it changes your life. So if for everyone who is listening, if anything that we said today has resonated with you, I would encourage you to sit down with it, explore it, do more, bring it to life. Think about how you can bring what you're hearing today in everyday conversations and in everyday choices. Thank you, Joe. And that's everything today. I hope you had a nice time listening, everyone.